One head, two tails, yin yang. Three heads, old yang. Two heads, one tail, young yin. Three tails, old yin. Two heads, one tail, young yin. one tail, two heads, yang yin. I'm going to read a passage from Vitality, Energy, Spirit, a Taoist source book. This comprehensive anthology traces the teaching on the three treasures, vitality, energy, and spirit, through the long history of Taoism, along with brief selections from the classic texts of Lao Tzu and Zheng Tzu. The book presents a rich selection of tales and sayings from Taoist literature, as well as a broad range of writings from the Complete Reality School. One, observe the way of heaven, practice the action of heaven. That is all. The way of essence in life is one. It is the way of heaven. The way of heaven is simply the way of yin and yang. If practitioners of the way know the inner subtleties of the way of heaven, and through silent exercise of the light of the Spirit, take of the energy of yin and yang, and take over the authority of creation, it is possible thereby to live long and not die. It is possible thereby to have no birth and no death. What is most important is in being able to observe and to practice. What is observation? Observation means to investigate things and get to know about them. Observation means to make very deep and detailed study. Observation means mental knowledge and spiritual understanding. Observation means turning the attention within to see what's behind consciousness. Observation means not hiding anything from yourself or fooling yourself. And what is practice? Practice means concentrating the mind and focusing the will. Practice means not going too far and not falling short. Practice means effort in personal action. Practice means getting stronger with perseverance. Practice means consistency from beginning to end. To observe the non-doing effect of the way of heaven is sudden enlightenment and is the means of realization of the essence of life. To take up the learning of the doing of the action of heaven is gradual cultivation and is the means of realization of the life of essence. By being able to observe and practice, you use the way of yin and yang to become free from yin and yang. By means of things of the world, you transcend the world. That is to say, you recognize that all there is change, and while intimately understanding vicissitudes of change, you stand somehow apart from them, ultimately free. When essence and life are both realized, mind and phenomena are both forgotten. Transcending the universe, there is eternal subsistence. The two expressions, observing the way of heaven and practicing the action of heaven, are themselves a celestial ladder that can enable people to become enlightened immortals, a great road for saints and sages. Everything outside of this is a sidetrack, seductive but misleading talk. That is why the text says, that is all. Nature has 5 robbers. Those who see them thrive. The 5 robbers are represented by metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Nature uses these 5 forces of yin and yang to produce beings, making their forms from energy. People are born and grow through reception of this energy, but when yang peaks, it gives rise to yin. The primal goes into the temporal, and the 5 forces cannot combine harmoniously. This means that the 5 forces plunder one another of energy, each isolated in its own character. For wood, metal is a robber. For metal, fire is a robber. For fire, water is a robber. For water, earth is a robber. For earth, wood is a robber. These are what are called the 5 robbers of nature. These 5 robbers are used by people every day without their being aware of it. Because they go along with their energy, they are born and die and are born, being born and dying endlessly. If you can see them, you operate creation in reverse, and reverse the 5 forces. Metal originally overcomes wood. Wood thereby becomes vessels. Wood originally overcomes earth. Earth thereby produces luxuriant growth. Earth originally overcomes water. Water is thereby stopped from flowing uncontrollably. Water originally overcomes fire. Fire is thereby stopped from heating up. Fire originally overcomes metal. Metal thereby produces a glow. Within overcoming, there is production. The 5 robbers turn into 5 treasures. The one energy, whole, returns to the source and goes back to the root. The 5 robbers are in the mind. They carry on their activities in heaven. The universe is in the hand. Myriad transformations take place in the body. People are born with the energy of the 5 forces, so they have the energy of the 5 forces in their bodies. The mind is the host of the body is the house of the mind. When the 5 robbers are in the body, really they are in the mind. The mind, however, is divided into the human mind and the Tao mind. When you do things by means of the human mind, the 5 robbers become active as emotions and desires. When you do things by the means of the Tao mind, the 5 robbers turn into benevolence, justice, courtesy, wisdom, and truthfulness. If you can observe heaven, understand the waxing and waning of the 5 forces, and use the Tao mind to function, then every step you take comes from heaven, not from humanity. Great though the universe may be, it is as though in the palm of your hand. Many though the myriad transformations be, they are not outside your body. Can it not be difficult to assemble the 5 forces, combine the 4 forms, and thereby realize essence and life? The celestial nature is humanity. The human mind is mechanical. Setting up the celestial way is to stabilize humanity. Celestial nature is the nature bestowed by heaven, which is the nature of true being as is. What is called the true mind follows the laws of God without consciously knowing. This is how people can be people. The human mind is the nature of temperament, the nature of cognitive consciousness. What is meant when it is said that the human mind is mechanical is that it gives rise to feelings when it sees things, raising waves along with the wind. People have birth and death based on this. The celestial nature in the waking or the working of heaven, which is the way of heaven, the human mind is the working of humans, which is the way of humans. Those who keep the working of heaven survive, while those who follow human mechanicalness perish. Only great sages observe the way of heaven and practice the action of heaven, standing in the center, without any bias, tranquil and unmoving, yet sensitive and effective. They cultivate the true nature and transform the psychological nature. They keep the way of heaven and stabilize the human mind, not letting any foreign energies adulterate their hearts. When heaven radiates killing potential, it moves the stars and shifts the constellations. When earth radiates killing potential, serpents cause trouble. When humans radiate killing potential, heaven and earth overturn. When heaven and humanity act in concert, myriad developments have their basis stabilized. The killing potential is the harsh yin energy through which things are damaged. But without yin, it is impossible to give rise to yang. But for killing, it is impossible to maintain life. Therefore, once the killing potential of heaven comes forth, it goes through a cycle and then begins again. The stars and constellations move through the sky. Once the killing potential of the earth comes forth, stripping away of the primordial reaches its climax, and the primordial returns. When stillness culminates, there is movement again. Human beings also contain a heaven and earth, and also have yin and yang. If they can emulate heaven and earth in operating the killing potential, then the five forces are overturned, and heaven and earth commingle in tranquility. What does this mean? If the human mind and the celestial mind combine, the overturning of yin and yang takes place in a short time. When celestial timing and human affairs are unified, then the basis of all developments is stabilized. There are clever and dull natures which can be subdued and put away. People are physically formed from yin and yang energies and are endowed with innate knowledge and innate capacity which form their natures. Natures are all good, but energies may be clear or muddled. Those whose endowment of energy is clear are therefore clever, while those whose energy is muddled are therefore dull. Those who are clever by nature are often crafty, while those who are dull by nature are often greedy and foolish. Whether people are clever or dull by nature is a matter of temper. When the human mentality is in charge of affairs, this is not the original celestial nature. The path of cultivating reality is to gather the primal to convert the temporal, so that cleverness and dullness are both subdued and put away, and not used. The aberrations of the 9 openings are in the 3 essentials, which can be active or still. The 9 openings are openings in the human body. The 3 essentials are the ears, eyes, and mouth. The 9 openings of the human body are all receptors of aberrating influences, but among them it is only the ears, eyes, and mouth that are the main inlets which summon aberrated influences. When the ears listen to sounds, the vitality is shaken. When the eyes look at forms, the spirit runs. When the mouth talks a lot, the energy disperses. Once vitality, energy, and spirit are damaged, then the whole body deteriorates and life is lost. If you can curb looking and listening, and speak little, you close those main inlets and let your mind be open and empty. With inward thoughts not coming out, and outward thoughts not entering in, the 3 great medicines of vitality, energy, and spirit will congeal and no longer disperse. Then the 9 openings can be active or still, and their activity or stillness is the working of heaven, without human artifice. So what more aberrant energy could there be that would not dissolve? When fire arises in wood, disaster takes place with ineluctable force. When treachery arises in a country, the time is disturbed with ineluctable destructiveness. Those who know this and practice refinement are those known as sages. Fire symbolizes the insane mind. Wood symbolizes human nature. Treachery symbolizes hidden ills. A country symbolizes the body. Wood originally produces fire. When fire breaks out, it is disastrous for the wood itself, as the wood is burned. Similarly, insanity comes from the mind. When insanity breaks out, it is disastrous for the mind itself, as human nature becomes deranged. When there is treachery in a country, acts of treachery destroy the country, and the nation perishes. Ills are hidden in the body. When negative energies are strong, they destroy the body and life is lost. When body and mind are burdened, nature and life go along. Under these conditions, wise are they who know how to inwardly practice secret refinement, observe the Tao of heaven, take up the action of heaven, conquer body and mind, preserve nature and life, and not be constrained by temporal forces. Two, heaven gives life, heaven kills. This is the principle of the Tao. The Tao of heaven is just yin and yang. Yang is responsible for giving life, yin is responsible for killing. There can be no yang without yin, no life without death. Therefore in spring there is birth, in summer there is growth, in autumn there is the harvest, in winter there is storage. The 4 seasons form an order, going through their cycle again and again, going on like this throughout the ages. Heaven and earth rob myriad things rob people, people rob myriad things. When the 3 robbers are as they should be, heaven, earth, and humanity are at peace. Therefore it is said, eat at the right time and the body will be in order. Act at the right moment and all events will be peaceful. Heaven begins all things, earth gives birth to all things, but once they give life to them, they also kill them. This is how heaven and earth rob all things. There are myriad things in the world. People give rise to feelings when they see objects, and when they indulge in feelings and desires. They use up their spirit and energy. The young become old. The old become feeble. The feeble die. This is how things rob people. Human beings are the most intelligent of beings, and even though things can steal energy from people, yet people consume the vitalities and flowers of myriad things, and are born and grow dependent upon the energies of myriad things. This is how people rob myriad things. Great practitioners of deliberate cultivation are able to usurp the energy of myriad things for their own use, and they can take the energy things are taking from them, and they can take the energy heaven and earth are taken from things. When these 3 takeovers are unified this way, there is life in the midst of death, and the 3 robbers are as they should be. When the 3 plunderers are as they should be, people are united with the qualities of heaven and earth, acting in concert with them, harmoniously, so they are all at peace. Once heaven, earth, and humanity are at peace, the energy of the Tao is always present. So myriad things cannot constrain one. Creation cannot contain one. But the secret of this robbery involves work of one time, which must not be done too soon or too late, must not be forced or anticipated. It will not do to be excessive, nor to be inadequate. When real knowledge comes, conscious knowledge receives it. The other comes, and the self attends it. When yang returns, it is received with yin. The most important element is not losing the timing and not mistaking the right moments. That is why it is said that when you eat at the right time, your body will be in order, and when you act at the right moment, events will be calm. Eating at the right time means taking advantage of times to absorb primordial energy. Acting at the right moment means taking opportunities to seize control of life and death. When eating is timely, acquired energy is digested and all parts of the body are in order, enabling one to preserve the physical body intact. When action is opportune, primordial energy returns and all events are peaceful, enabling one to extend one's years. Time of opportunity are hard to talk about. If you want to know this time, it is the celestial timing, and this moment of opportunity is the celestial working. If you do not have a deep understanding of creation and change, and do not clearly penetrate the complementarity of opposites, how can you know this? Enjoying the radiance of the moon on the 15th of the 8th month. This is precisely when the vitality of gold is fully matured. If you come to where one yang just starts to arise, see to promoting the fire without delay. People know the spirit as psychological. They do not know why the non-psychological is spiritual. Students in every age have taken the luminous awareness of the discriminating mind to be the original fundamental spirit. This is why people cling to emptiness or stick to forms, attracted to all sorts of marvels and wonders, and grow old without attainment, with only death to look forward to. They don't realize that this intellectual spirit is an acquired spirit, not the primal spirit. So what is spiritual but really not psychological is the primal spirit. It is not material, not void, ultimately non-existent, yet including ultimate existence. Ultimately empty, yet including ultimate fulfillment. This is the non-psychological spirit, which is really most spiritual. Nevertheless, people of the world know only the acquired spirit as the spirit, and gladly enter into routine existence. They do not know the primal non-psychological spirit can preserve essence and life. They do not even suspect that myriad things steal their energy without their realizing it. Sun and moon have measurements. Great and small have definition. The work of sages is born therefrom. Spiritual illumination emerges therefrom. When you take over the mechanism, no one in the world can see you. No one can know you. When developed people get this, they are steadfast in poverty. When undeveloped people get this, they take life lightly. The reason people can take the energies of heaven, earth, and myriad beings is that heaven, earth, and myriad beings have fixed measurements. Heaven, earth, and myriad beings cannot take energy from people insofar as the Tao of sages has no shape or form. For example, the sun and moon are high above, but they have measurable courses that can be figured out. In the case of the sun, there is the yearly cycle with the 4 seasons, which can be observed. In the case of the moon, there is the monthly cycle of waxing and waning, which can be seen. The great is yang, and the small is yin. When yang culminates, it gives rise to yin. When yin culminates, it gives rise to yang. When the great goes, the small comes, and when the small goes, the great comes. The cycle of yin and yang is a fixed, unchanging course. People who arrive at the Tao figure out the waxing and waning of the creative evolution of yin and yang. They apply effort and soon cull the primal, undifferentiated energy for the matrix of the elixir, taking the measurements of filling and emptying of heaven and earth for the foundation of life. In the primordial, they are not opposed by nature, and in the temporal, they serve the timing of nature. The work of sages arises from this. Spiritual illumination emerges from this. The takeover of the mechanism of nature involved in this work and this illumination is unfathomable, even to ghosts and spirits, to say nothing of people. How can anyone see it or know it? No one but wise and virtuous people can know this path. Only those who are strong enough to transcend all things can carry it out. If people are really developed, though, through true practice of the Tao, forgetting the words when they get the meaning, being wise yet appearing ignorant, being expert yet appearing inept, they will not be willing to reveal their excellence until they have perfected essence in life. They will remain steadfast in poverty, appearing to have no knowledge. As for undeveloped people of slight virtue, if they happen to get a taste of this richness, they will be self-satisfied and complacent. They will not value essence in life. They will think they have what they don't, think they are fulfilled when they are empty, think all is well when in fact they are restricted. So they will go wrong and will not only fail to benefit, but will even be harmed. 3. The blind can hear well, the deaf can see well. Cut off one wellspring, that of profiteering, and it is 10 times better than mobilizing the army. Introspect 3 times a day and night, and it is 10,000 times better than mobilizing the army. The blind are good at hearing what is not easy to hear, because their eyes see nothing and their spirit is stored in their ears, so their hearing is clear. The deaf are good at seeing what is not easy to see, because their ears hear nothing and their energy works in their eyes, so their seeing is clear. Those who understand this observe that when the eyes are closed and the ears are sharp, and when the ears are shut, the eyes are clear. How much the more so when you subdue the primal energy, give up the artificial and cultivate the real, maintain truthfulness and depart from falsehood. Do this, and there is no doubt that you can attain long life. The scripture of purity and clarity says the reason people do not attain the Tao is because they have errant minds. Once they have errant minds, this disturbs their spirit, and their spirit then clings to things. Once they cling to things, they give rise to greedy craving, and this greedy craving is an affliction. When afflictions and errant imaginations torment body and mind, people are defiled and disgraced. They flow in the waves of birth and death, always sunk in an ocean of suffering, having forever lost the true Tao. Errant imagination that leads to greedy craving is what the classic on yin convergence calls the one wellspring of profiteering. If people can cut off this one wellspring, then everything is empty and all rumination ceases. This is 10 times better than exercises, here referred to as mobilizing the army. And if you can reflect on yourself over and over, keeping what is truthful and getting rid of what is false, working by day and reflecting by night, being careful all the time without lapse, gradually returning to the state of ultimate good without evil, this is 10,000 times better than mobilizing the army of exercises. The reason for this is that the effect of the army can change only the face and not the heart. It can give people rules and regulations, but it cannot give people skill. If you cut off greed for gain, reflect upon yourself, rectify the mind, do your work, and be careful of what you have not perceived, how can the power of the army reach this? A sage said, if for one day you can master yourself and return to considerate behavior, the whole world will return to humanity. Do you think humanity depends on yourself or on others? This is indeed the subtle point of the passage. The mind is given birth to by things. The mind is killed by things. The mechanism is in the eyes. The mind is like the master of the house. The eyes are like doors. The original true mind is open and clear, with no sense of self, person, or thing. It is one with the great void. How can it have birth or death? The existence of birth and death is only in terms of the physical organ associated with mind. Mind cannot be seen but through things. When you see things, then you see the mind. When there is nothing there, the mind does not appear. This master may come alive and may die. Things give birth to it, things kill it. What enables things to give life to or kill the mind is just a matter of opening up the doors and letting thieves assemble. This is because when the eyes see something, the mind senses it. This is how the mechanism of the birth and death of mind is actually in the eyes. If people can turn back their gaze to illumine inwardly, then external things have no way to get in. So where can birth and death come from? Heaven has no kindness, but great kindness arises from it. With swift thunder and strong wind, all beings become active. The nature of ultimate happiness is to be unrestricted. The nature of ultimate peace is to be pure. Heaven is most high, and myriad beings are most low. Heaven is so far from beings that it seems as if it had no kindness toward beings. What we don't realize is that there is really a great kindness that arises from where there is no kindness. The energy of heaven drums and makes thunder, blows and makes wind. When swift thunder stirs them, myriad beings come to life. When strong wind blows on them, myriad beings flourish. Coming to life and flourishing, myriad beings are all unconscious of the reason why they act, since it comes from nature. This is no kindness producing great kindness. What does heaven mind? So those who are ultimately happy cannot be cramped by anything. Nothing holds them back. For them there is always more than enough. Those who are ultimately peaceful cannot be moved by anything. They have no greed, no attachment. They are always pure. When the happy have no desire for freedom and are spontaneously free, when the peaceful have no desire for purity and are spontaneously pure, this is like heaven having no kindness yet having great kindness. Desireless action is spiritual. We will read our bottom trigram of our primary hexagram as solid, solid, broken, which is dewy, lake, or marsh. Dewy is lake and marsh, abundant energy that teems with life. She is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange, and delights in both inner and outer conversation. She brings things into circulation and gives them voice. She is the sheer enjoyment of participating in life to the full, expressing ourselves and hearing others and satisfying our desires. Lake is the youngest daughter, spirit of the fertile west and of autumn. And the top or outer trigram of our primary hexagram, we will read as broken, 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 which is Kun, earth. Kun is earth, open to receive and support what comes to her, providing for its full development. She makes inspiration manifest, gives it form, and sustains its growth. Earth is available to be used, ready to lend her strength to the work without limit. She protects and accepts all things in their totality, present and potential, in an unconditional embrace. Earth is mother, found in the southwest and the harvest time of late summer and early autumn. This will give us our first hexagram of $19. The lines with the X and the O in them, they are old lines, and so they will transform into the younger version of their opposites. Those are lines 2 and 4. Once those change, our bottom trigram will transform from solid, solid, broken into solid, broken, broken. That trigram is the trigram Zen Thunder. Thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. In old Chinese belief, thunder slept in the earth over winter and erupted from it in spring, awakening living things into new growth. Thunder is our basic drive for renewal. He inspires initiative and decisive action. He is the stimulus that sets things in motion. He is the eldest son in the trigram family, the first connection of heaven, potential, with earth, realization. Yang makes itself known here, emerging into the field and beginning to grow. Thunder belongs to the east and to spring. And our top or outer trigram of our supporting hexagram will transform from broken, broken, broken to solid, broken, broken. And that is Zen Thunder. We read that one. Okay, and that will give us a supporting hexagram of thunder over thunder, Zen over Zen. 51. Now turn to I-ming's commentary and translation of the I Ching. He was a Taoist adept, and he wrote this in 1796, and it's been translated by Thomas Cleary. In the beginning, there are some short, succinct definitions of our hexagrams, so we'll start there before we head into the deep end. So our first primary hexagram is 19, which is overseeing, keeping watch over the restoration and growth of primal energy and repulsion of acquired energy of conditioning. And then 51, thunder, practicing introspection and action, practicing introspection in action. We will now read I-ming's translation of the I Ching, and then we'll turn to the back after we get all that in to more of his commentary, which is more of a Taoist perspective even so than his translation of the I Ching. 19 and 51. In order to understand how our hexagrams and changing lines relate to one another, to answer the question, the general question we come to the oracle with, how can I act in creative relation with the spirit or forces shaping this moment of time? Our answer will be understood when we understand how our hexagrams and changing lines work together. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question, as the most specific, focused part of a reading. Their message always takes precedence over all other elements. Overseeing. Overseeing is creative and developmental, beneficial if correct. In the 8th month there is misfortune. Explanation. Overseeing is watching over. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is earth, following, and below is lake, joyful. Joyfully following truth, acting in accord with that joy, it is therefore called overseeing. This hexagram represents watching over the furnace, culling the elixir. It follows on the previous hexagram, following. In following, thunder seeks lake. Lake returns to thunder. This means that when feeling returns to essence, it can be called restored elixir. Once positive energy has been restored, it becomes increasingly manifest, gradually expanding. At this point, you watch over the furnace and get to work, fostering the positive and repressing the negative. Then positive energy grows and negative energy wanes. This is why overseeing has creativity and development. Creativity is the first return of one yang. Development is the increase and rise of the second yang. Watching over the furnace and getting to work, one culls these two yangs. But even though the two yangs are growing, yin energy is still abundant and yang energy is still weak. It is necessary to be careful to ward off danger. Don't be negligent, but don't be eager either. Take harmony for substance and accord for function. Acting in accord with the time, to take from the other without losing from the self, it is beneficial to be correct. Correct means right. Overseeing correctly. Before the proper time arrives, one does not seek forcibly, and when the time has arrived, one does not let it slip by. When process and measure are right, the original creative energy does not leak away, and the mechanism of life does not stop. That practice is creative and developmental without obstruction. Otherwise, if one does not know when the medicinal substances are too dense or too feeble, and does not understand when to intensify the work and when to relax it, but starts out impatiently, eager for quick success, then the medicinal substances will not be genuine and the firing process will not be correctly tuned. Those who spurt ahead quickly will fall back rapidly. What will happen then is that once the two yangs have grown smoothly, they will soon dissipate. The positive energy that has developed will disperse, and overseeing will turn into observing. Next hexagram. In the 8th month there is misfortune. If one's effort is not correct, it will not bear fruit. If it doesn't bear fruit, what is begun will not develop. One loses what one has gained, and the great affair is gone. Therefore, the path of overseeing requires harmonious accord with the time. It is important not to miss in the firing process. (51) Our supporting hexagram, what our answer, the whole general hexagram reading means to us. Thunder is developmental. When thunder comes, there is alarm, then laughter. Thunder startles for 100 miles, but one does not lose spoon and wine. Explanation. Thunder is movement, action, represented as thunder. In the body of the hexagram, one yang is born below two yins, symbolizing the presence of movement within stillness. Here, two thunders combine. From this action, you arrive at that action. From that action, you produce this action. 1,000 actions, myriad acts, are all this one action. Therefore, it is called thunder. This hexagram represents acting so as to proceed on the path, warily practicing introspection. It follows on the previous hexagram, revolution. Revolution involves gaining joy through illumination, refining metal by fire, removing old impurities. Removing old impurities does not mean forgetting things, forgetting the body, extinguishing the mind, and stopping thoughts. It is necessary to remove impurities in the midst of action in order to accomplish the task. This is because the Tao is alive in movement. It is neither material nor void. We use worldly realities to practice the reality of the Tao and use human affairs to cultivate celestial virtues. Both striving and non-striving, comprehending essence and comprehending life, the endless work, all must be done in the midst of activity. Therefore, there is a path of development in thunder. However, there is inner activity and outer activity. Inner activity means the movement of inward thoughts. Outward activity means the activity of affairs that come up. Inner activity is in the realm of self. Outer activity is in the realm of other. If inner activity is genuine, outward activity will also be genuine. If inner activity is artificial, outward activity will also be artificial. Superior people are careful about what they do not see, wary about what they do not hear. This means being careful and wary about inner activity. If there is no random activity within, there will naturally be genuine activity. The movement of genuine activity may go on all the time without causing any disturbance. Using this to deal with external activity, one responds without minding. Therefore, when thunder comes, there is alarm, then laughter. The coming of thunder means that within stillness there is suddenly movement. Alarm followed by laughter means initial carefulness and subsequent ease. One moment of goodness in people's minds and the mind of Tao appears. This is heaven. One moment of evil in the mind and the human mentality acts. This is hell. Hell and heaven do exist in the world. They are both created in people's minds. It is the good and evil, falsehood and truth of thoughts which distinguish them. When you have thoughts, if you can practice introspection, gradually eliminating bad thoughts and gradually producing good thoughts, after a long time of consistency, thought after thought, all return to correct orientation, so that the mind of Tao is ever present, and the human mentality does not arise. Filled with living energy, the real self sits peacefully in the center, tranquil and unperturbed, yet sensitive and effective. Whatever comes up, you are cheerful and calm, responding with good humor, not minding at all. Even if thunder startles for 100 miles, still you don't lose spoon and wine. A spoon is for eating. Wine represents fine drink. When thunder peals over 100 miles, it is very loud and can easily startle people. If you don't lose your marbles when this happens, this means the vicissitudes of circumstance aren't able to disturb your balance. Because superior people are wary of inner activity, they do not fear outward activity. Being wary of inner activity means nurturing the energy. Not fearing outward activity means not agitating the energy. If one can inwardly nurture energy and outwardly not agitate energy, acting when the time is for action, not acting when the time is for inaction, accompanying the thunder, going along with the time. Myriad actions are all genuine activity. There is no impediment in action. Herein lies the developmental quality of thunder. Now to read our changing lines, which is the most specific part of our reading. They will be changing lines 2 and 4, and they will have the general context of line 2 is the heart's perception, the emotional center where you make and feel connections, and line 4 is the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Line 2, sensitive overseeing is good, of unfailing benefit. Explanation. When the positive energy grows and strength and flexibility unite, one is tranquil and undisturbed yet sensitive and effective. Yang and yin are attached to each other. Great and small are not injured, and the mechanism of life goes on unceasing, vague at first, then becoming clearly manifest, eventually to reach the state of pure wholeness of positive energy. This is overseeing in which strong energy is good and beneficial. Changing line 4. Consummate overseeing is blameless. Or consummate overseeing is blameless. Explanation. Being weak yet preserving rectitude, refining oneself and mastering the mind, thereby awaiting the newborn positive energy, is called consummate overseeing. Watching over the quintessential, when the great medicine appears, one naturally does not make the mistake of missing it. This is overseeing that takes advantage of the opportunity to cull the medicine. That was the most specific part of our reading, but we will read I-ming's commentary on our primary and secondary hexagrams from the back of the book for a particularly Taoist perspective. Overseeing. So keep in mind what we just read is the most specific part of our reading. This is just going back over the 2 hexagrams we read. Overseeing, 19. Earth above, lake below. Above the lake there is earth, overseeing. Superior people use inexhaustibility of education and thought to embrace and protect the people without bound. Overseeing means overseeing below from above. Below is lake, above is earth. There is earth above the lake. Lakes make things wet. Earth supports things, widely providing water and support for the many. This is the image of overseeing. What superior people see in this is that education should be promoted and the life of the people should be stabilized. Therefore, they educate the people tirelessly, thinking of them and teaching them, guiding them with virtue, equalizing them with etiquette, gradually influencing them. Education is endless, and thought is also endless. The purpose is to improve the morals and customs of the populace. The ground of ethics gives abundant life, embracing the people without cruelty, protecting and embracing them, minimizing criminal law, making taxes light, seeing to sufficiency of food and clothing, like taking care of an infant, embracing and protecting without bound. When education and protection are done properly, there is harmony between the leaders and the followers, a unity of will, resulting in an atmosphere of light and peace. This is the way it is when superior people are in positions of authority, but superior people who have no position also teach and protect people in the same way. When superior people instruct others tirelessly, making speeches and writing books, they hope that everyone will become a sage. That every person will attain the way. This too is teaching and thinking inexhaustibly. The mind of superior people embraces the whole universe, viewing others and self as equals. Accepting every being, loving every being. This too is embracing and protecting without bound. Regardless of whether superior people have positions or not, they all aspire to foster life. Thunder. Thunder above, thunder below. Traveling thunder reverberates. Thus superior people cautiously practice introspection. Thunder is movement. Above and below is thunder. This represents the movement of the sound of thunder, traveling from here to there, from there to here. When the thunder here stops, thunder elsewhere erupts. Thunder continuing upon thunder is the image of thunder. What superior people see in this is that errant thoughts arise wildly, another thought arising before one thought is ended, thought after thought continuing, like the movement of traveling thunder, reverberating unceasing. So if people are unable to practice introspection, they will injure nature and reason, abandon the real and enter the false, ultimately destroying their own essential life. Therefore, superior people cautiously practice introspection, striving to cause true mindfulness to grow and errant thought to vanish, not allowing the slightest defect to remain in the heart. This is because good and evil, fortune and calamity, depend on the movement of a single thought, which makes the difference between heaven and hell. One can only sustain good thoughts and get rid of bad thoughts if one is able to be cautious before the movement of thought and introspective after the movement of thought, guarding against dangers, aware of perils, not daring to slack off at any time.